My difficult third ignite. When do you become an adult? For me, it was somewhere between when my dad died and when I became a father myself. So this talk is about my father, the impact he had on me, some of the things that still resonate with me today. Con Manahan was born in 1924, loved the watch chain, met his wife as a teenager, they married in 1951, they honeymooned in exotic Kerry, looking at ruins around the place. He then bought a ruin, an old Napoleonic fort, you might know the location with the James Joyce Tower, and he'd get to ply his trade. He was an architect, and he spent an inordinate percentage of his time up on ladders and knocking walls down for the remainder of his life there in the Sandycove Battery. And he had 2 children, and 8 years later, a happy accident. And as soon as I was out of nappies, I spent an inordinate percentage of my time up ladders, getting helpful advice roared at me by my father from down below. So a lot of my early memories center around DIY, measure it 3 times, son, and then cut it once. Only careless amateurs measure things twice. It's very difficult to add timber back onto a plank. Be careful, be careful. I learned how to set a ladder straight and true. I learned how to make sure I was safe. I learned how to make sure the angles were good. I also learned that if you're going up a tall ladder, it's a good idea to bring a spare. And if it's a very tall ladder, bring 2 or 3 spare screws or nails, because it's a long way down otherwise to find that one in the rubbish at the bottom. I discovered you needed 5 coats of paint in order to paint iron railings by the seaside. I discovered that trees don't forget that they're trees, even when they're 30-year-old doors. And you've got to paint all sides of them, because otherwise they will find a way to suck water in and rot. Careless workman blames his tools. Well, okay, I also discovered one other thing, which was that it is acceptable to swear very loudly in front of women or priests if you have hit yourself on the hammer with a hammer on the thumb. Music was a huge part of Pop's life, and I always remember his Cheshire Cat grin as he moved around the dance floor, sometimes like Baloo the Bear, sometimes like Fred Astaire, one of his heroes. Swing and jazz were his absolute watchwords, and they had to be played loud, even if that meant you blew the speakers, because you could always replace a speaker with the judicious use of a little bit of a soldering iron. Also, with the advent of blue tack, we had an awful lot less accidents with ornaments vibrating off the shelves because the music was so loud, and we were able to keep the house intact. A phrase we've all heard. We used to start christening our party tapes after that and name the year that was in it. Sometimes he was allowing of music outside of his specific genres. Great songs, stuff I still listen to today. Religion. Now, I was the 3rd child, so I didn't find Dad particularly prescriptive on this matter. I do remember one particular remark. WD-40. What more proof do you need that there's a God? Always his cry, whenever you'd ask a question, look it up! I don't know where he got the idea. You'd go and do the basics, then he'd sit down with you and work it through, and I still do the same today. So, what can I say? This was an intelligent, educated man who somehow couldn't understand that the odds of winning the lottery in Ireland are about the same as the odds of being struck by lightning. I didn't win again! On the left, my brother Donal, born 1953. On the right, our dog Punch, whom I never met, born sometime in the mid-1940s. A little story about Dad, just to give you a flavour of the man. He comes home from work one day, his young son is gambling around on the floor, and Dad immediately gets down on his hands and knees to play with Punch. My mother rather testily remarked, I think you like that dog more than you like your own child. And Dad pondered this, looked back at her and said, well, I've known him longer. Pop was unfailingly polite with people. You don't complain to the guy with the grease under his fingernails. It's not his fault. You complain to his boss. But you're nice to the guy with the grease under his fingernails and to everyone else you meet. I instinctively walk on the traffic side of the pavement. I instinctively give my chair to a lady or to an elder. I instinctively hold doors. He ingrained these things in me better than any book ever could. So, how would I sum him up? Well, he was a snappier dresser than Don Draper. He was a suave, warm, and generous host, always happy to have people come and visit him in his fortified castle that he had built with his wife. He was a genteel man, a gentleman. and a gentle man. And if I'm any of those things, it's because of him. And if I'm not, it's my own fault because he certainly gave me a good example. Thank you for listening.